Hello everyone and welcome back. This is Quan again. Now I am reviewing the Quan Guan, I believe is how the brand is pronounced, Tiger 131 tank. This is essentially a Chinese knockoff of the Kobe Tiger 131 set. As far as I can tell, it's a pretty blatant ripoff, but this thing was fairly inexpensive. I got this off of a website called the Armory. And it came with the tank and all the figures you see before you and an entire host of accessories and weapons. Now, I'm not 100% sure that the original model, aka the Quan Guan model, actually came with all these figures, since they do appear to have some Lego parts. I'm not sure if all the weapons came either, because I'm telling you, it was a whole thing. There's so many of them. So at 70 bucks, it was a great deal. This thing was over 1,000 pieces. I don't know if you can tell, but this thing is pretty massive. For scale purposes, here is my Panzer I, and I'll try to get it right next to it, that I just showed you in a recent video. It's almost twice the size, which is about accurate to real life, actually. It's a similar scale to what my Panzer I has. I recently uploaded that video, so you should go check that one out if you want to see more of the Panzer I. As you can tell, it's actually pretty hard to get this thing into a shot without going off of my little tiny 2 base plate studio here. So I think before we look at the features of the tank, we will look at these figures, which are in some ways very excellent, and in some ways are a little less satisfactory, but I'll get into that. Let's start with this guy here. As you can tell, the detail on these guys is really nothing short of excellent. It's got prints on the front and the back of the legs, and I even think, unless I'm mistaken, I think some of these figures might even have print on the side of the legs. I'm not sure. It's also got custom print on the front and back of the torso. I believe this is, a custom face. It's got this little mark on him. But yeah, immense detail there with all the pockets, all the boots, the pant legs, different colorations in there. And the thing that impressed me, maybe even the most about these things, was the headwear, and I accidentally popped the head off. It's not wanting to come off separately from the head, but I mean, you can even see the little eagle on there. It's immense attention to detail, which I have never seen, quite frankly, in any custom figures I've ordered from Brick Arms, Brick Forge, or the like. Now, the interesting thing is, these legs are certainly not Lego. As you can see, they're not exactly like Lego torso, or not exactly like Lego legs. Now, this is one of the better pairs, but most of these guys have pretty loose legs. They're very loosely attached. Another issue is they don't really like to go on studs very well, and they don't like to come off either. It's a bit of a tight fit, as you can see. It takes a bit of effort to get them off. So we have this green guy. I'll briefly show you some of the other ones. You see how loose these legs are. That's what I mean. Very loose. The rest of them appears to be Lego, though. So yeah, you can see the prints here. Now this one is interesting because he has prints on the arms, but one of them is faded. I am not sure if it came that way. I did not notice at the time. But that's there anyways. This guy has a head on the reverse too. Smiling, confident, or battle face. The unfortunate thing about that is that it shows under the helmet. Now if we take a look at the helmets, these are not brick arms. They're different. They're a bit thicker, the plastic is. It's slightly different shape. But they also have prints on them, which I think is fascinating and super awesome. It's actually got a print on both sides. So super attention to detail. Again, I'm not really sure if these figures came with the Chinese knockoff set or if this was added from the reseller that I used. Here's another one. This guy's wounded. Not an abundantly useful figure, I'm going to be honest. Also, he's really not doing well. You can see he's got just like 2 different gunshot wounds and a cut there. So he's even bleeding through the back. Looks like maybe it was through and through, though. So that's better for him, but still. Not in good shape, but his helmet also has those insignias there. Again, can't really use him for anything other than a wounded piece for like a mock. A wounded guy. Which is neat, I suppose. We have a couple of SS-looking officers. These are the ones with the prints on the side, and you can see this one is chipped and faded a little bit too. Unless that's part of it, because it's on both sides. Perhaps that's intentional. I couldn't see why, but I don't know. Maybe it is. At any rate, these guys were basically identical. I think the face is just different. Yeah, actually, he's got the same chip on the side, so I guess that's either inherent in their manufacturing or it's supposed to be like that. So this is an officer guy. He is decked out to the extreme. Has this extremely dramatic cape. This thing ripped when I tried to put it on. Not super durable. He's got the loose leg issue too, but again, he has quite an insane level of detail and quite a ridiculous hat as well. So I guess this is the commander sort of guy. I'm going to move these figures to the side. I'm going to show you the tank, which, as you can see, barely fits in this shot. It is massive. Also highlighted right here is one of my biggest complaints with this thing, which is that this German Army cross is covered up by this thing, which is not very accurate. And it's just kind of annoying. If you look at it from overhead, you can see the cross better, but it's like, you know, it seems like a problem to have it there and also be covered up. So as you can see, this thing looks pretty darn good. It's got this extra tread on the front. It's got this absolutely massive gun. Unfortunately, the gun technically rotates, but it's not the easiest to do. Case in point right there. Yeah, so it rotates up. Oh my gosh. But it's got quite a bit of resistance, so much so that it's hard to do without taking the entire turret off. The turret itself connects somewhat loosely. As you can see, it really does not take much to pop that out. Sometimes it happens on accident. As you can see, there's a bunch of tools that I've already put on this that it tells you to put in the instructions. There's an axe here, shovel here, different shovel here, and I think he had a different shovel there. Yeah, it's a slightly different curvature. Extra tread pieces all over. There are some very fragile pieces of this, like this thing. These keep popping off. It's only connected by one stud. Not amazing. You have hatches that open in the front, and you can put figures in these. However, you cannot turn the turret. You cannot rotate the turret at the same time. I'm just going to put Johann in there because it's easier, quite frankly. Because, like I said, these guys, their legs will pop off if I try to pull them out. Put them in and pull them out. So yeah, you can't rotate the turret with a guy in there. But still nice to have. As you can see, the turret is a custom molded piece for that. I think I should talk about... Actually, let's keep going with features. I have 2 hatches. I'm going to take off the turret to show this because it's probably just easier. 2 hatches on the turret. A little bit difficult to open as I am displaying. One here. One here. This one, I modified this slightly. This was actually raised one plate level higher, but I changed it a bit to be flush with the rest of the turret because I thought it looked better. I don't know. Maybe that detail is, maybe it's not historically accurate now. I'm not 100% sure. Alrighty. As you can see, the back it's quite nice. This piece actually rotates for no reason. Doesn't need to, but it does. This is the exhaust. I'm going to talk about parts of the build pretty soon, but you have to move them aside to do this, but you can move the exhaust and open up an engine hatch. This engine is very unconventional. It's not really Lego compatible pieces. It's like a weird pop and lock system. But I mean, it looks fairly nice. However, it's not secure at all. That thing will fall out super easily and did fall out many times while building. I should note also, I'm going to talk about the build a little bit. This thing was not the easiest to build. And not just like, I'm not referring to like difficult building techniques or anything. I'm just talking about some of the pieces just did not want to fit together. They have this piece which is like a double-sided stud. It's just one double-sided stud, so you can build, upside down. And they actually used it to snap together some of these things on the exhaust. But oh my goodness, it just does not want to fit with anything. So difficult. You have to apply so much force and at exactly the right angle to get it to even work. So that was kind of infuriating. Some other issues with the build. See, this thing just popped off again. Some other issues with the build. This antenna. It said it was not supposed to go on this piece, but a different one that we didn't have. Supposed to be like one of those round single studs, and it was supposed to have a hole in the top so that you could stick this antenna in. That piece was not there, so we used this piece instead, which was seemingly extra, or maybe it's just the wrong one was in the instructions. I don't know. Yeah, so if you look at this, I technically have this built wrong. Because we have one stud exposed here and not the other one. It's turned around. I'm not going to change that because it would be way too much hassle. I'd have to deal with those single-sided studs again. Not worth it. Additionally, I had two pieces break on me during building. One of which was one of those single-sided studs. Thankfully, there were extras. Otherwise, that would have been problematic. Another thing with the build... Oops. See, yeah, these things pop off willy-nilly, as you can see. Not very secure. Also, not really necessary. It's just extra tread, so... I suppose a little bit of history I should share. The Tiger 131 is an actual tiger. It's now owned by a museum in England. It was captured by the British in the war in North Africa, and it's the only operational tiger tank in the world that's known of. Another thing with the build, this gun piece did not fit in here without taking this front panel off first. So you can't really do it the way they did in the instructions. It's a very tight fit as is. But it's another thing where you actually had to kind of go rogue from the instructions just to get it to work. So that's really most of the features of the tank itself. Now let's look at the whole host of accessories that I mentioned that come with this thing. I'm going to shove this guy back here and line the shot back up. And I'm going to show you these accessories because they are numerous and they're pretty cool. So I think I'll show you the tools first. there's already 3 shovels and an axe mounted on the thing itself, the tank itself, but it also came with, let's see if I can, pliers, pickaxe, you saw it, I'm not gonna put it up there again, hand saw, and, sorry, I had to grab it. It was not over here. A sledgehammer. So I was not expecting that. That was pretty cool. In addition, it came with, I think these came with it. I really hope so. Otherwise, I'm misspeaking. But they were next to it, so I think this came with it. Pretty sure they did. Binoculars. Where is the little... There's a little... Yeah, here it is. A tiny little canteen that they can just hold. And now the weapons. There came with so many. It's kind of absurd. First of all, it come with this big mountable MG34. I think it's supposed to be an MG34. I'm not 100%, but it's got a belt that you can actually stick in there. Now, the belt itself is not flexible. Regardless of what it looks like, it's rigid, but you can actually remove it. I'm not going to right now, but you can. Came with a Panzer Faust, I think it's called. Whatever. I mean, you know what this is. At least 2 potato masher grenades. I can't remember if there were more. These are actually 2 pieces. The handle and the masher are actually separate pieces. A little different than the brick arms design. But that's where it gets sort of interesting, because some of these are pretty much brick arms. Here's a knife also that it came with. But yeah, when we go on to the MG42, I mean, this thing is dead on, almost identical to the brick arms version, and I'm actually going to grab one so I can compare it. So, this is the brick arms one, without the bipod, because I couldn't find a brick arms bipod. Brick arms, and that's the one this thing came with. So the mold is like, it's like identical. So it's either from brick arms or it's just a direct copy of their mold. I'm not really sure which. I think it's a copy because the quality of the plastic is a little different. But the design is like exactly the same. But it's, I mean, that's pretty nice because brick arms are not cheap. So that was the MG42. Now there were 2 different STG44s, one of which appears to be their own design. Because this is, as far as I'm aware, not similar to any brick arms one. But then it also comes with the one with all the scopes and lights, the scope and the flashlight. Ridiculous, silly looking flashlight that apparently they actually did use to mount on these things. And this one also is going to be extremely reminiscent of the brick arms one. Again, the mold is nearly identical. So, copy, perhaps, but it's basically another brick arms one. The MG42 is very much not like the brick arms. It's a lot bigger. The handle is straight up and down instead of at an angle. It's almost comically large compared to the figures. I can show you. But the design is still undeniably an MP40, so we take what we can get. See, it's really huge compared to the figure. And then we got some other stuff. I think I don't remember the name of this pistol, but again, brick arms pretty much identical. This is the one it came with. This is the brick arms. Almost identical. Again, we'll take it. That's nice. We have a couple more pistols. This little thing. One of these is a Luger. I honestly don't remember. I think maybe this one. But, you know, all pistols that were actually used. They look pretty nice. I don't have the brick arms one on me to compare. There's another pistol. And then we actually got 3 rifles. I believe this is a Car 98K. I'm pretty sure. And I believe these 2 are Mausers of some sort, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. So do not quote me. But one is scoped, one is not scoped. They're actually slightly different rifles, actually. But, I mean, considering, this is the nice pile of weapons they give you. And this whole thing with the tank of 1,000 plus pieces, closer to 1,100 if I recall. Plus the 6 outstanding figures, design-wise outstanding. Actual quality of the parts, the legs specifically, is a little bit lackluster. But considering what you get, what I got for, $70, you get a bunch of essentially brick arms, some other cool Lego compatible tools like the saw, the sledge, the pick, all that stuff. Get a couple of grenades as well. The tank is not perfect. I think it looks very cool. It's a bit fragile in places, but it's pretty nice. Considering everything that you get here, and there's one more figure that I need to put on there. Hello, you stand right there because I don't have a better spot. Considering everything you get, this is pretty nice value. Sorry, this has been a long video, so I'm going to end it here, but be looking out for other stuff. I have the Kobe Sherman to review as well as my updated Stug 3, which I hinted at in a video years and years ago. So be on the lookout for those, but thank you guys for watching. I am out.